Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
This is P&W Haunts and Homicides.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Still.
Still us, guys.
Yeah.
We didn't go anywhere.
Nope. So today, I don't think we have any serious business. Everybody will know all of the good news.
Yeah, they will.
This is obviously recorded in advance, so you will have already heard all of the good news that we're celebrating today. Hopefully our celebration doesn't come through too much over the mic.
Nah, we'll be good.
We'll be good. Today, we are actually talking about a case that was requested specifically by one of our awesome and favorite fans.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yay.
She reached out to us a while back, actually, on Instagram. I just want to say congrats to her on the forthcoming little human.
Oh, another creepy little person.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love that.
Yeah. So we know it's hard to have, gatherings for things like baby showers. So this is our gift to you.
You listen to it while you're giving birth.
Yeah. Or don't.
Please don't.
Because we're so sorry.
Kidding.
It's really gross. But you did ask for this.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Okay. You want to
Okay.
cut?
I'm gonna cut them cards.
Cut it.
Ooh, like that.
I like her.
I do too. She's spunky. Okay,
She's the Page of Cups, and she looks like, what is this, 80s, do you think?
Yeah, she's really rocking an 80s vibe there.
80s jean jacket, short skirt, high top Converse.
I mean, a bad bitch of her own time, if I've ever seen one.
And she's got a pink cup with a fish in it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe don't put fishes in her cups, I guess.
She's looking at it like, what you doing in my cup?
Okay, so we're going to read from the Modern Witch.
Modern Witch.
We're going to read from the Modern Witch, the smaller interpretation book first, and then I'm going to be furiously turning to the page for Cassie in our big book so we can get a full description.
Okay, so remember I said something about a fish.
Yeah.
So Page of Cups. What's that? A surprising little fish poking its head up from her cup?
It's adorable.
Something or someone unexpected is coming your way, and it's going to affect your emotions pretty wildly. Maybe you've been hit by a wave of inspiration and you've stumbled upon a brand new friend. Whatever it is, it's a tidal wave of feelings. Don't be afraid to wade right in.
I really hate this card for this case, but
oh no.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm feeling this one.
Okay. In the big book, it says the Page of Cups, a fair, pleasing, somewhat. You always give me these big words I can't pronounce. What's that E word? It's a top.
Effeminate.
Effeminate. A fair, pleasing, somewhat effeminate page of studious and intent aspect contemplates a fish rising from a cup to look at him.
Why are we putting fishes in our cups?
I
just
know.
Okay, all right. Well, it's a choice.
It is the pictures of the mind taking form. Ooh, I kind of like that, like a dream almost.
Yeah.
The pictures of the mind taking form. Divinatory meanings. Fair young man, one impelled to render service with whom the querent will be connected. A studious youth, news, message, application, reflection, meditation. Also these things directed to business. And we had like a page fly out of the book, which was really odd.
Okay, all right. I just made a connection with the case, and okay. All right.
Okay.
I think I figured out what part of this card resonates with the. I don't like it, but there it is.
Okay, I'm weirded out with this page that just literally flew out of the book. Did you rip this out at some point?
No.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
This page just like flew out of the book. Like you saw that, right? I'm scared to read it now.
It's kind of an old book, but
That was weird.
This is the two sides of the page. There's the visual representation of the Ace of Swords on the one side, and then the reverse is all of the definition for the suit of Pentacles for the king.
It landed this side up.
It did. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna read the suit of Pentacles.
Okay, I'm curious where this goes.
The figure calls for no special description. The face is rather dark, suggesting also courage, but somewhat lethargic in tendency. The bull's head should be noted as a recurrent symbol on the throne. The sign of this suit is represented throughout as an engraved or emblazoned with the pentagram, typifying the correspondence of the four elements in human nature and that by which they may be governed. In many old tarot packs, this suit stood for current coin, money, deniers. I have not invented the substitution of pentacles, and I have no special cause to sustain in respect of the alternative. But the consensus of divinatory meanings is on the side of some change, because the cards do not happen to deal especially with questions of money. Divinatory meanings: valor, realizing intelligence, business and normal intellectual aptitude, sometimes mathematical gifts and attainments of this kind, success in these paths. Okay, I need to know, did this land with the page right side up, or?
It landed with this up.
It was right side up?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was it facing this way?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
the reversed is vice, weakness, ugliness, perversity, corruption, and peril.
Huh.
Okay, that actually is kind of creeping me out that this just flew out of the book.
Does it apply?
There are some things.
Ooh, okay.
There are some things.
Yeah, that's weird. It's always like when something flies out at you, it's trying to get your attention.
Yeah, I think something is trying to get my attention.
Oh.
I don't like it.
Is it personal or is it for the case?
No, I mean no, it's definitely related to the case. I'm always thinking about what will apply to the case. I'll leave my personal business at the door. All right, so that is an interesting tarot read we just had there.
That was the first of its kind.
Very interesting. Today we're going to start this case off by explaining another problematic piece of history related to the mistreatment of native populations.
Oh.
I mean,
let's talk about it.
Here we are.
Let's look it in its face.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the history, and in this case, it's particularly relevant. I'm not going to try to create a link if there isn't one, but I mean, you'll see. It's part of the story.
Okay.
So this practice impacted men, women, and of course, children. But I feel like it really uniquely targeted women in a very cruel way. This happened to women of other races and ethnicities, and actually at multiple points in history. But the focus will be on the latter just because of our story.
Okay.
So this history lesson takes us to Canada, where the baby scoop era spanned multiple decades.
What now?
Yeah. So specifically post World War II, roughly 1945 to about 1988. Remember,
that's a big chunk of time.
Yes. And that's also, like, for me, the tail end of that is in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind as we kind of chat about this. So it should be noted that similar practices occurred in other notable countries such as the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. The baby scoop era is characterized as the time when sorry, before we start, I'm just going to say literally fuck this.
I don't like the baby scoop thing is not sitting well with me. And
it's not going to. The name should make you uncomfortable because it's a very uncomfortable practice.
Okay, great.
Okay. Deep breath. I think I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Okay.
So, young unwed mothers were targeted for forced adoption of their babies.
No. A forced adoption.
Yes. So, let me just read you a little something that will have you kind of marching with a smash the fucking patriarchy sign before you finish this episode.
Okay. I've got it in my hands right now.
I know, I feel like I should be wearing my necklace for this occasion, but some professionals of the era considered that the punishment of the mother for her transgression was an important part of the process.
Huh? What?
Yep. No, it's not going to get better. Just it's not funny. I just laugh uncontrollably at uncomfortable things.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, same.
So Dr. Marion Hilliard of Women's College Hospital was quoted in 1956 saying, "The father plays absolutely no part in this. That is her part of her rehabilitation. When she renounces her child for its own good, the unwed mother has learned a lot. She has learned an important human value. She has learned to pay the price of her misdemeanor. And this alone, if punishment is needed, is punishment enough. We must go back to a primary set of values and the discipline that starts with the very small child."
What? What?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the ultimate in... there's so much to unpack in that statement. It's, it's victim shaming, it's slut shaming, it's so many things, and it is so many shades.
And the
of
guy
wrong.
just, it's fine.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Fine.
No,
you did nothing wrong.
Boys will be boys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I promise the true crime is coming, but y'all, I got really heated with this case, which I'd like to say is something unique, but it's pretty much as per usual. But, what would an episode of P&W Haunts and Homicides be without a mini history lesson, right?
It's got to have it.
Yeah. So as with many abusive practices, it's possible that related estimates aren't fully accurate. I think that almost goes without saying. An estimated 400,000 babies were taken during this time from mothers aged 15 to 19.
Oh my goodness.
Commonly by religious-backed maternity homes designed to find them placement with primarily white families.
Okay.
There were dozens of these homes in Canada at the height of this practice. So remember, when we're looking at a lot of these numbers, we're talking about just in Canada.
Okay.
These things occurred in a lot of other places, so we're, potentially talking about millions of children.
Jesus.
Yeah. Again, at various times in history and in many places, this occurred in droves. This occurred throughout different points, regardless of race or ethnicity. However, Native women specifically became the target of these efforts in Canada in the 1960s. So this was also referred to as the 60s scoop.
Oh my God. Stop saying scoop.
Yeah, it's a scoop implies that there would be ice cream.
Yeah.
And the 60s imply that, it's the time of free love, and it's very much not either of those things.
Oh.
Children of all ages were adopted out or fostered by force. I repeat, children of all ages. We're not just talking about forced adoptions of brand new infants.
Oh my God. So they're taking their children that have already been with them for how many years and giving them away?
We're going to get into it. Yeah. So this could be a traumatic experience for any child, and certainly for any mother or family unit, but kids that were old enough to know they were being ripped away from their homes. These parents were not voluntarily giving up their rights. In 1978, the Indian Child Welfare Act was enacted, stopping the practice in the U.S., but thousands had been impacted by the practice by that time. So now I said that I would get to the true crime in this story, but if you ask me, this first half is just as much about very real crimes that were perpetrated by governments and religious groups.
Oh,
It's really icky.
It's disgusting. I'm not okay with it.
No. Joseph Kondro, and I want to make a point of mentioning that this was not his given name at birth, was born to a Chippewa woman named Elizabeth Marie Curtis, who was just 18 years old in the state of Michigan, here in the U.S. of motherfucking America. He was handed over for adoption at birth and grew up with his adoptive family in Castle Rock, Washington. He attended a Catholic parochial school because clearly religious intervention in his life hadn't done enough damage, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's always better.
Yeah, for sure. Within a year of giving birth, Elizabeth had married her baby's father, Dominic Joseph Durant. Elizabeth had a 6th grade education, and he had a 10th grade education and was a truck driver. Over the course of their marriage, Elizabeth had a total of 10 pregnancies, giving birth 7 times, and losing 1 child to SIDS.
Oh,
yeah, which is really, it's really sad. I mean, I personally know people that have lost a child to SIDS, and it's absolutely devastating. So honestly, our tiny creepy hearts kind of bleed for this woman. It's really horrific. The father, Dominic, had difficulty supporting the family and leaned on drinking and abusing his wife for relief.
Oh, I was going to say drinking. Yeah. Okay. That's
not
understandable,
ideal, but
when you start beating people,
so, I mean,
come on.
Just great. We're off to a fantastic start. Just awesome all over the place in this story. Elizabeth reportedly also struggled with alcohol abuse as well. One day she came home from the grocery store to find a social worker had removed her 4 children, and they had been put up for adoption with white families.
What? She just came home one day and her kids were gone?
Mm-hmm.
That is fucked.
Michael, Esther, Phyllis, and Danny, Joseph Kondro's siblings, were basically taken while she was grocery shopping. She was also pregnant at the time.
Oh my God.
And when she gave birth to baby Don Lee, he was taken immediately from her and adopted out in the same manner before she even had a chance to hold him.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So this infant was Joseph Kondro.
Okay.
Elizabeth and Dominic never gave up or signed away their rights. Their parental rights were terminated by the government. She never saw these 5 children again.
No.
Though the siblings were in time able to reconnect amongst themselves.
At least there's that.
So Mary was the last child that Elizabeth and Dominic had together. They divorced, but Elizabeth was able to raise Mary. Actually, Mary was able to not only be raised by her mother, but Mary became her mother's caregiver late in life.
Oh, so this was after all the other kids got adopted away, then Mary was born? Okay.
Right. So, I mean, what's a little bit confusing about this story is that, I'm starting off kind of talking about Joseph Kondro and sort of like a broad overview of what happened to him, talking about his parents a little bit, and prior to his birth, his parents had already had other children that were taken from them at various ages. While, like I said, she was out grocery shopping one day, and she was pregnant with Joseph when those children were taken. And then when she gave birth to him, her sister was the only one that was able to hold the baby.
Oh.
She held him briefly and named him baby Don Lee.
Yeah.
And literally no one in the family ever saw him again.
That is crazy.
I know, and there's just so much history and nuance to that piece of the story. It's really sad. I mean, this was a really common practice, too, with the forced adoptions, that they would not let the mother hold the baby.
Oh. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, how can they think that that's okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling, and I'm not sure how anyone ever suffered under the delusion that this was okay, but it's
You're
a
supposed
thing.
to give me answers, Caitlin. I need answers.
No, I mean, I can't explain those type of actions. It's just not a thing that I would do. As someone who doesn't necessarily want her own biological children, I can't fathom what would compel someone to do something so evil to people that do have and love their children.
Yeah.
So back to Joseph Kondro. He was adopted by John and Eleanor Kondro. John and Eleanor had been unable to conceive and looked to adoption to try to complete their family. They were desperate to become parents and agreed to have a child that was not only, quote, dark, but also were open to a child with special needs. So I don't love some of the problematic language that was included in the adoption paperwork at the time, but I do appreciate that they were willing to love a child without concerning themselves with either of those.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sure they didn't. I hope they didn't make up the language, you know.
Right. No.
I'm sure that wasn't on them.
Yeah, I think this was a box you checked.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. So unfortunately, Joseph Kondro grew into a man that would commit horrific crimes. So, you know, here are these people that really just wanted to love a child. And from a young age, he really started exhibiting psychopathic behavior.
Oh, no.
Now, I did read a little bit about Joseph Kondro's upbringing, and I did hear some stories about John, the father, not being particularly loving or, you know, even welcoming to Joseph. And I won't even get into the specifics. But I do think that's a difficult upbringing where you feel like, you know, maybe your adoptive mother cares for you more than your adoptive father. And you're already dealing with some issues about abandonment potentially, but it's a sad situation because of everything that led to that. But Joseph engaged in frequent fights with other children, as well as one of our personal and very major no-nos, killing animals.
No, it's always with the animals.
Yeah. Ugh. Can't say that I'll never understand that one, but it sounds like this was typically neighborhood pets. So yeah, yikes.
Even worse.
Can you imagine he's your neighbor and
God.
as a child he kills your beloved, you know, pet? Ugh,
I'm always so paranoid about that, like letting my dogs in the backyard and stuff. And I'm like, what if someone gets them or like throws a poison ball over the fence? And my boyfriend's just like, you're insane. And I'm like, I'm not though. It's a thing. It's a whole thing.
So reportedly, he even started drinking alcohol as early as, do you want to take a guess?
12.
8. 12 would be young. As early as age 7.
Oh my God. I picked 12 because that's when I started drinking.
I mean, I feel like 12 is very young, but age 7?
That's crazy.
I mean, that kind of blew my mind. But
that is like how do you get your hands on some booze?
Yeah, I couldn't wrap my head around that, but I think it should come as no surprise that he eventually amassed a very lengthy criminal record with charges related to auto and petty theft, drunk driving, domestic abuse, drug dealing, and forgery.
Ugh, that's a lot of things.
Yes. And this is all well ahead of his truly darkest days as a violent criminal. It's a lot.
Oh, is there murder in this story?
There sure is.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, and I'm going to take this opportunity now just to let everybody know that we're going to actually get into the meat of the case coming up here. And this is a child case. So I don't want to say much more because I don't want to upset you if you're ready to tune out at this point. But it's not going to be a pretty one. So if you're not prepared for that, we understand. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. You can leave. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. So authorities were baffled in the early 1980s by a series of unexplained disappearances of several young girls in Southwest Washington. Shyla Silvernails was among them.
Aww.
Isn't that the cutest name ever?
Oh my God.
She was from Kalama. She disappeared on April the 20th of 1982 on her way to catch the school bus.
Oh.
So wholesome. So sweet. However, what follows, not so much. Her mother became concerned when Shyla didn't return home after school. Shyla's family would learn that she had never even gotten on the school bus.
Oh.
Her body was found the day after her disappearance. This is rough, guys. She was naked, and it was determined that she had been raped and strangled.
No.
So while Joseph Kondro had actually dated the young girl's mother, he was not initially a suspect in the crime.
How?
I don't think they were dating at the time that the disappearance happened.
Okay.
And so I think in any investigation, there's a number of kind of ancillary figures. And sometimes there's just not anything that jumps out. I mean, you have to remember that for the most part, it seems like a lot of his, criminal record wasn't necessarily something where it was like a particularly violent crime. It was reckless and maybe, more self-abusive type stuff than anything else. So then just over 3 years later, on May 15th of 1985, Rima Traxler went missing. She was a third grader at St. Helens Elementary School in Longview. Immediately, it was suspected that she was the victim of a kidnapping because she was a generally well-behaved child that had no apparent academic struggles or other conflicts to speak of in her life. And I'm so glad that they didn't assume she was a runaway, as that obviously it happens in so many cases. But when I was reading about this case, I just had to stop for a second and go, but I mean, come on. How many third graders have much conflict in their lives?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. She's in third grade.
She had some business dealings that went bad.
No.
I mean, of course, there's occasional playground drama, I guess. And I don't mean to downplay it for anyone that as a young child had, some serious issues in their life, because absolutely, sure, there are plenty of kids that have problems at home or in other aspects of life, but I just thought it's frustrating to think that if maybe her life had been a little less rosy, that she might have just been considered a runaway.
Yeah.
She's a third grader.
Yeah, but even
if she did run away, she's a fucking third grader.
Even if you're under 18 and you're a runaway, they should be looking for your ass hardcore. It doesn't matter if you're a runaway or not.
I don't care why you are not in the place that you're supposed to be, but if you are not showing up back at your home, you're not showing up for all of the adorable ass third grader shit that you're supposed to be doing at school, somebody should be looking for you. So that kind of got me. So there was very little to guide the investigation on the specifics of her apparent abduction. Exactly how or when she had gone missing was, honestly, it was kind of a little bit of a mystery in this case as well. Kondro knew the victim and her family.
Oh.
He had been friends with Rima's parents. In fact, he had apparently even been drinking beer with her stepfather on that day.
Oh, okay.
So again, although he was actually questioned by police in this case, he was not named as a person of interest in this case either. So
he's a sneaky little snake.
He is a sneaky little snake. Can confirm. So many years go by at this point. Over 11, in fact.
Jeez.
Yeah. On November 21st, 1996, Kara Rudd went missing after entering a car on the grounds of her middle school in Monticello. At the time of her disappearance, Kara was just 12 years old. So As with the previous victims, Kara had been a well-liked young girl with no inherent sign of any issues. Her disappearance was investigated as a kidnapping right away as well. So, yet again, this slimy fucking dude had a personal connection to the victim. This time around, there would be suspicion cast on Joseph Kondro.
There has to be at this point, right?
Yeah, I don't know that they were linking these cases together. Some of them are so spread out. If there's over a decade in between these.
That's a long time.
It's a long time to then be able to draw the connection in the case.
What was he doing in the meantime? I'm curious.
Drinking.
Ugh.
And it's not a judgment. I love to drink.
Oh, we're drinking right now.
We're absolutely drinking right now. Cheers to that.
Woo woo.
Yeah. He was actually a childhood friend of Kara's mother. So that's the personal connection. So the mother knew the piece of shit that took her daughter. I mean, literally since she was a child herself.
That is crazy. I can't even imagine. Like,
it gets worse.
Oh,
he even stayed, Joseph Kondro stayed in this family's garage before being asked to leave because of his problematic drinking habits.
Wow. So he lived with them for a time.
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
So Kondro had actually been seen with inexplicable cuts and lacerations on his skin not long after Kara's disappearance. So you knew the victim, you got all these bumps and bruises and cuts and weird. Okay, I think we have some follow-up questions.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A couple.
According to one of Kara's classmates, Kara had planned to skip school on the day of her disappearance. The really compelling piece of this story, though, was that Kara had been seen entering Kondro's vehicle.
Well,
remember, yeah. I'm like, she had been, the last place she was seen was on the grounds of her middle school getting into a car.
Sus, man.
Not gonna get away with that, buddy. We've got another promo roll that we are really excited to share today.
Hi, I'm Courtney Fenner, and along with my co-host Amanda Cronin,
hey,
we are a Nefarious Nightmare.
We are a podcast that covers true crime, the paranormal, weird unsolved mysteries, and all with a personal approach and a sense of humor.
We also end our podcast with good life advice, such as wear deodorant or don't be a Richard.
Courtney and I have covered cases such as the Baker Hotel in Mineral Wells, Texas, and the tragic death of little Sharon Matthews.
We've also covered the case of Gloria Ramirez, who was, very unfortunately, dubbed the toxic lady in the media. And also, in episode 1, we have an interview with Jason Vukovich, the Alaskan Avenger, and his sister, Angelina.
So let's all gather around the bonfire and roast serial killers and marshmallows.
Yes, come on in.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, pretty much anywhere you find really great podcasts.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and welcome to a Nefarious Nightmare.
You guys, we're back! So, at the time, Kondro drove a Pontiac Firebird.
Oh, did he?
Sure did.
He fancy.
I mean, I don't know. Was that a fancy car?
I don't know.
Should we Google it? Let's Google. Give it a Goog.
I need a Goog. I'm feeling like I know what it looks like, but
oh fuck, that looks so cool,
right?
Well, he wasn't driving that. His was a piece of shit.
He had a piece of shit one.
His Firebird was falling apart. I just know it.
His bird was on fire. That was really stupid. I'm gonna cut that.
No, I love that. Please leave it in. This bird is on fire.
Yes, I'm leaving that in 100%.
Oh, I did that so that you would have to leave your part in. Do you see what I did there? Do you see how devious I am? I know. Unfortunately for him, this established him as the last person to be seen with Kara prior to her disappearance. Authorities weren't able to make an arrest initially because being the last person to be seen with the victim alive isn't necessarily always indicative of being the killer, but
most times.
Most of the time.
I'm just gonna go out there.
I'm going to go out on a limb. So, after searching for 6 weeks, local detective Scott McDaniel decided to inspect the Mount Solo area near the Columbia River. Want to know why?
No.
Kondro was known to frequent the area.
Ew.
I know, I don't want to hang out there. Detective McDaniel's hunch paid off big time. Police found Kara's body inside an abandoned Volkswagen while searching the area.
What?
Yes. So I don't know who this Volkswagen belonged to or why it was abandoned, but that was where her body was found.
That's crazy.
Yes.
He just found like a car and was like,
Right.
oh, that looks like a good
If
spot.
it's an abandoned vehicle, I
Oh.
guess, if it's been sitting there a while and you think, oh, nobody's going to notice, maybe. Or by the time that they do,
Yeah.
who knows what evidence is at their disposal.
Might throw him off to like, who does this car belong to? Does
Right.
it belong
They're gonna
to
look at
this
them.
guy? Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was like running through all of the possible, like, why did he do it this way? And that was one of the things that I thought of. So she too had been raped and strangled. The fact that her body had been protected inside the car meant some very critical forensic evidence
Oh,
remained.
that's great.
Yeah. So DNA samples that were taken from that crime scene matched Joseph Kondro, and he was arrested for Kara's murder. When he was interrogated, Joseph Kondro eventually admitted that he had taken Kara to a swimming hole in Germany Creek. Later, he took her to an abandoned house near the Columbia River. This was the scene of her rape and murder. In an attempt to avoid the death penalty, Kondro and his legal counsel struck a deal with prosecutors that secured his confession. So this confession included the murder of Traxler more than a decade before.
Wow. They got him to confess to that?
Yes. So Kondro explained that his pre-existing relationship with the Traxler family and that he had been able to trick the girl into entering his vehicle by mentioning the word unicorn. This was a safety word taught to her by her parents.
No. That motherfucker. What an asshole.
He knew a lot of these girls and he knew their families.
That is so fucked.
It makes me so angry. And it's just like the most pure unicorn.
Yeah. How did he get that information? Was he
knew the
snooping
family.
or
He knew the family. They thought he was a safe person. So they shared that safe
that
word.
is so fucked. Don't share your safe word with anybody.
No.
Keep it between you and your kid.
Well, and here's the thing is if she knew him, there's a good chance that
She would have gone anyway.
she would have gone anyway.
Just don't let your kids talk to anybody.
Yeah.
It's just you and your kid. That's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, adults don't need help from a child. They shouldn't feel like they have to go anywhere with an adult that they don't know. I mean, everything that we can do to protect children. But man, I mean, sometimes these guys are just so fucking clever.
It's gross because they're like so fucking stupid, but they're like clever about it.
It's very, it's like selective hearing. They're like selectively smart about their crimes.
Ugh.
So he, getting back to Traxler, this is the additional victim that he confessed to. He had raped, bludgeoned, and strangled Traxler at Germany Creek, and he buried her body beside a tree. Per his plea deal, Kondro was sentenced to 55 years in prison at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla. Because of his violent tendencies and criminal record, authorities strongly suspected that he had been involved in the unexplained disappearances of other preteen girls throughout the region besides those that he had confessed to as part of his plea.
Oh.
They were particularly convinced that Kondro had been involved in Silvernail's disappearance in 1982. Given the striking similarities in MO between her case and those of the other girls, the location of the crime, and the fact that Kondro had dated her mother, Despite detectives' plans to question him further, Kondro balked at discussing it further due to concerns about the death penalty being imposed.
Like,
apparently, this guy had an understanding, at least, that, you know, if you rape and kill enough young girls, we might, as a society, be angry enough to give you the chair, the needle, whatever it is going to be per the state. This is one of those things where it's like, you are so selective about pieces of this that the monstrosity of what this man is, it makes me so angry.
Yeah. And the fact that he's just scared to die, like.
Right.
Why? Why are you so scared to die? Where you think you're going to go, bro?
What do you believe in as this type of monster that you are that scared to die?
Yeah.
So, Kondro's case, needless to say, has drawn a pretty wide swath of media attention. So, this is not only due to the heinous nature of his crimes against particularly vulnerable victims, but also because of the possible factors and implications in the development of psychopathy and the potential for psychological profilers to identify some of like the kind of early warning signs and traits of serial killers as well as other types of violent criminals. So if you've watched Mindhunter, Cassie.
I watched it.
Fucking finally.
Years ago, I watched it.
Such criminal profiles can be used to identify criminals at high risk of becoming violent offenders. So this helps law enforcement in some respects in terms of expediting the steps to monitor and alter, if there is that potential, the violent behavior. So this is including in youth detention centers for juvenile offenders, but it also gives us the opportunity to try to protect potential victims. Kondro exhibited many of the classical traits of psychopathy from a very young age, actually. Though it's important to note here that juveniles really can't be diagnosed. On the flip side, he also showed many of the baffling and seemingly contradictory qualities of criminals that have antisocial personality disorder. It's really complex. I certainly don't have the background to speak nearly as intelligently on the antisocial personality disorder as I'd like. But despite some differences in kind of the physical appearance between them, public persona, and MO of their crimes, he actually had many traits in common with the serial killer #NeverBundy.
Oh, icky.
Yeah. I mean, and these are really kind of broad generalizations. So, but I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was worth including.
Yeah.
So, similar to #NeverBundy, Kondro was able to come off as really kind of a charming and pretty personable guy.
Yeah.
Despite his near constant instability and the tendency to, commit crimes and various types of violence.
Well, the fact that he got this family enough to trust him to give him their safe word.
Very, very Bundy-esque
yes.
in my mind. So, of course, that is exactly the type of thing that allowed him to win the trust of people around him. So clearly, I mean, this was very particularly useful in the commission of his crimes. Particularly boldly, he often perpetrated his crimes against the young daughters of friends. It's disgusting.
It's so gross.
Additionally, Kondro was also aware on some level that his actions were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So another similarity there. He was even apparently able to empathize. I struggle with that because I don't think he can empathize.
Yeah.
He might be able to sympathize. But the argument's been made that he was able to empathize with the victim's family's desires for retribution or justice.
Okay.
But still, none of this stopped him. So his drive to commit violent crimes, as well as the accompanying adrenaline rush, were just, honestly, it wasn't a match for any of those other sensations, whether it's guilt or whatever. So adding to the intrigue of this story, Kondro was actually profiled by John Douglas.
Oh, snap.
Right?
I know who that is.
She's
guys.
like, that's fresh from me. Snap,
I got
snap,
it.
snaps. He was profiled by John Douglas from the FBI, BSU, Behavioral Science Unit. John Douglas, in case you've been living under a rock, is one of the founders of criminal profiling. His story is detailed by the MSNBC documentary and, of course, the subsequent Netflix series Mindhunter. Douglas discussed his experience profiling Kondro in depth in his book that was co-authored with Mark Olshiker. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. The Killer Across the Table. Kondro's crimes, as well as his possible involvement with other disappearances in the Longview region, were featured in several true crime articles and books, including The Longview Serial Killer by author Lori Carangelo, and a number of television documentaries, including On the Case with Paula Zahn and Cold Case Files.
It's just like Cold Case Files.
Yeah. So Joseph Kondro was a self-described psychopath before his death. He reportedly thought that it was outrageous that someone as cold-blooded as him could cut a deal.
Wow. The fact that he thought that.
Yeah. All right. Take another sip. Just keep sipping until I finish this quote. People that go out and take somebody's life without remorse, give them the death penalty. Kill them.
Yeah.
He said in an interview at the Washington State Penitentiary. Kondro's case raised questions for many about how serial killers use their victims as bargaining chips to try to negotiate better results for their sentencing. Some of them have even used it once they're already behind bars and they've been convicted. They'll use it as a bargaining chip to get better privileges or rewards.
Oh, that is just it.
It's really icky.
You've already done enough to these people. Like,
haven't you done enough? So in stark contrast to his seemingly rational statement, Kondro also compared himself to an alligator resting at the bottom of a pond during his interrogation, stating sometimes he came up to feed.
what? Like,
Yeah, it's not a bad metaphor, but gross.
oh.
Or I guess is that more like a simile?
I don't know.
I literally can't even. I can't be bothered.
You're
to
the
wrap my
writer
head
here.
around
I
it.
don't fucking know.
Honestly, I looked at that and I was like, yeah, metaphor, whatever. I don't want to keep rereading this. It's just fucking unbelievable.
Our writing teacher is just
I know. Sorry,
shaking
Miss
her head right
Cole.
now.
She's like, it's a red herring. It's not, but
Oh.
okay. We're going to get into the rest of the shit that this fucker said. Kondro boldly stated that he wished he would have been more careful in hiding his final victim's body. Then he would have remained free to rape and kill again.
Ew.
As it turns out, another killer actually had more to say on the topic.
On his killings?
About Kondro.
Wow.
Guys, remember Keith Jesperson?
Yeah.
Okay, me too.
Oh, God. I don't want to hear his comments.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of it's pretty icky. Time and distance, Keith Hunter Jesperson says, is all it takes. Separate yourself from the body and don't be seen. Meet a victim one place, dump her someplace else, in another town, another county, another state, somewhere no one is looking for the missing. He stated, the longer it takes to find a body, the better. But you don't have to take it 20 miles away to dump it. You can put a body in the dumpster next door if you feel comfortable that no one can pin it on you. That's why it's best to take strangers, he says. Victims who can't be linked to you.
Well, he should have gotten that advice before he started.
Both of these guys did not follow their own advice. It's unbelievable.
Also, who the fuck? Why do you think anybody cares what you have to say about how you're murdering? Like,
I know. Like, well, he's already been caught. So thanks for the pro tips, Keith. So you may recall Keith Hunter Jesperson is the infamous happy face killer. He boasted of murdering as many as 160 women, which, all right, guys, can I just say, bro, calm the fuck down. His confessions only tie him to 8 murders, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And in 5 states, including one in Washington, he might still be on the road had he not failed to heed his own advice.
I feel like he did not kill that many people.
That's why I say, seriously, Keith, just take several seats. I don't think you did. Yeah, okay. I'm going to need to see some receipts.
You need to calm down.
Yeah.
You're being too loud.
He's entirely too loud. He's, yeah.
Ugh.
I can't with you. I can't. So, all right. I feel like I need to explain myself a little bit. Why am I sharing this with you? Serial quotes? For why?
Yeah, why, Caitlin? Please tell us.
What's really scary about this is that it unequivocally proves one very bone-chilling fact. The killers among us are always learning. Learning how to be better criminals.
Ew.
Learning how to become successful, undetected, repeat offenders. Even with advances in policing tactics and forensic technology, experts say that killers learn new tricks that allow them to continue. I don't think it takes an expert to tell you that.
Yeah.
Both Kondro and Jesperson killed for years before anyone knew their victims shared a common killer. Their strings of victims would only be attributed to a single mysterious killer years later. One lesson each learned early on is that police rarely can track down a killer if they can't find a body. Without a body, a murder can be forgotten as a routine missing person case.
Oh.
No body, no crime, right?
Oh, no body, no crime.
That's right. Perhaps even more startling, though, is that both killers knew that paying attention to matters of, timing, distance, and a number of other factors, to be truthful, can mean ultimately that police won't always be able to determine who that body belongs to, even if it is found.
Yeah.
State and national law enforcement databases hold thousands upon thousands upon thousands of records of unidentified bodies, reports of missing people, endangered people, but a combination of simple oversights or human error, and in some cases, even bureaucratic glitches, they often prevent anyone from being able to link a body that's found in one location to a person missing in a very different location.
That's so crazy to me. Like what am I trying to say? How connected we all are these days by like the internet and shit.
No,
that
I know.
We can't connect. It's It's blowing my mind.
I love that you said that.
Oh, okay.
Because it's literally the whole point of kind of what I'm getting at here is in a time where we feel so connected by, we're constantly connected. I can pick up my phone and I can text you or any one of 100 other people at any
100
time.
people? I'm just kidding.
I can Facebook message. I can post something to Instagram. We think of everything as being very interconnected, and it is not that way. Yeah. So I feel like I kind of started to reflect on, as I'm reading a lot of the statements that they're making and seeing some of these things where it's like there's years apart, they're, a victim taken from one place and found in another. I'm thinking to myself, when we see on the news, we hear podcasters, we see on social media, people talking about, someone that has gone missing, someone that is believed to have been a victim of a homicide. We need to pay attention because you just don't know when you're going to see a face that nobody else is going to make the connection.
Yeah.
I guess this is just a little bit of a soapbox moment to say, like, keep your eyes open, pay attention, be aware that it's worth your time and attention to take a look at some of these things, because even if you're looking at this sitting here in Portland, Oregon, saying, why do I care about this case in Oklahoma? First of all, this is a human being. Second of all, you have no idea some of these aspects of the case that may come up.
Yeah.
So it's just a reminder that, I think we should be thinking on a more global scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because they could be, taking them from another
Yes.
state, bringing them here.
I feel like
you might see the guy.
Yeah, I mean, we have had a rash of cases that have been solved in recent years where that has absolutely been the case. So all of this is to say, sadly, sometimes the dead are never found.
Oh, I hate that.
You should hate it. For Kondro, it was simple. He hid 8-year-old Rima Traxler so well that no one ever found her. He said, I figured I could take her and bury her in a place far enough away there was no way they'd go find her or go looking for her there. He says, I was right.
What a dick.
The only good news that I have at the end of this episode is that Joseph Kondro is dead.
Thank fucking God.
He died in prison of liver disease, most likely related to Hep C. If it was anyone else, that would be awful, but he really deserves all of the awful things any of us can imagine.
I can't. Like, he never said where she was.
It's such a
It's a what?
It's such a smug fucking statement coming from this guy.
It is.
And you can tell that clearly the anger level rises for me, and I just insert fucks into sentences where they may or may not have any business, but
fucks always have the business.
This one just really makes me angry because there's so much about this that, like, yes, he refused to disclose the location of Rima's body. To my knowledge, in the course of my research, as far as I'm aware, her body has never been located.
I don't get it. Like, what the fuck? You don't have anything to lose by telling where her fucking body is.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're really you're lording that over law enforcement and the family. I do know that I read a little bit about some of the victims' family members that have since moved away. And if their bodies were not located like Rima's, one of the family members has since relocated to, I believe, Colorado. And she said, I've made my peace with that, I'm not going to know where she is. She's not going to be found. And I just feel like that's devastating. I do, however, I've actually given this a little bit of thought, super morbid train of thought. I don't know how I ever
always
got down this road, but I thought to myself, I think I was having a conversation with a family member of mine about that. Personally, I couldn't fully relate to the experience of a victim's family member needing to have them found if you know what happened to them. And my family member explained that it's like you want to bring them home and you want to be able to put them to rest in the place that you feel like they would be at peace.
Yeah.
My flip side of that and my outlook on that is that I feel like in life and in death, that person has already been through so much. And even if I was able to locate that person's remains, I'm just not sure that I could feel good about in my soul disturbing that to relocate them. I feel like that's a super deeply personal choice. And I think probably anybody else who, has to think about this for real, they're going to know what is the right decision for them and their family member. But I personally feel like wherever that happens to be, for the most part, I think that would be the place that I would go to, kind of be with their spirit. I feel like I couldn't bring myself to disturb them at that point. I don't know.
I kind of get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a like I said, it's a very complicated and it's a very personal decision at that point. But I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's also
I felt happy for her that she was at peace, knowing at least I know what happened to my daughter, and I can't speak to what she would do if her child's remains were found, but I thought, gosh, I'm happy that this many years later that it seems like maybe in at least some small way she's sort of tried to find some peace with this.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness. Okay, do we even have the bandwidth to get back into this tarot? I almost forgot. I'm ready to close it. It's a rough one. Okay, so we got the Page of Cups.
Something or someone unexpected is coming your way, and it's going to affect your emotions pretty wildly. Maybe you've been hit by a wave of inspiration, or you've stumbled upon a brand new friend. Whatever it is.
I hate that for this case.
It's a tidal wave of feelings. Don't be afraid to just wade right in. Well, I feel like it's literally the opposite of that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the card that was kind of indicated as jumping out at us literally from the book. I wish we had been doing our video of the card reading so that people could see, like, we couldn't have planned that. That just literally flew out.
That was crazy.
So that one was the King of Pentacles, and I feel like I'm taking away from the description. There's like the actual description of the illustration of the card. I mean, this at least aesthetically, like what Joseph looked like, this is kind of what rang out to me. This figure calls for no special description. The face is rather dark. Suggesting also courage, but somewhat lethargic in tendency. I just feel like that really spoke to me about him as a person, as far as like the description of the visual on the card. And then in the reverse, the interpretation of this card is vice, weakness, ugliness, perversity, corruption, peril. I mean,
yeah.
I'm going to have to see if I can find a way to like bind some of these pages that are a little bit loose. And I mean, this tarot book has been very well loved.
Keep them flying out. Apparently it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when I pulled the card, I mean, I was thinking about the case, but I was thinking about how I don't want to think about the case. So I feel like maybe that was a little bit of mystical intervention on that.
You know, I've heard of people like cleansing their deck because we put so much energy in the deck that they cleanse it like
we
every
might need
time.
To start doing that. Yeah.
So I feel like maybe our deck is just tainted.
Yeah. I don't know if I think that it's tainted, but I think that it might be a little bit frustrated with the energy. And it's like, look, this is the card that you're looking for. I'm going to spit it right out of the book.
Yeah. What card was that again? I want to see the actual like card.
Oh, yeah. It was the King of Pentacles. Okay, let's read what the King of Pentacles says in the little baby book. I think the interpretation in the reverse for this one actually makes a lot of sense. So, but let's see.
Yeah. It's interesting. So the king has all they've ever wished and fought for, and all their material dreams have come to fruition. Though they have so much, they are not miserly, but instead trusting and extremely generous. They love to see others succeed as they have and will definitely be willing to lend a helping hand if needed. If you are the king, don't be stingy with your time and money. Donate your skills, wisdom, and possibly money. Didn't it just say money? It literally said money twice.
Why is this all about money?
Anyway, you'll feel truly fulfilled after spending the time to help others.
All right. Well,
nope, that didn't.
Well, that's the for that card in the little book, it's always like the right side up, you know, total, it's in the prominent, it's not the reverse position that it gives you. So I'm telling you, it's that King of Pentacles in the reverse that really, it resonated for me. So
all right.
Ugh, yuck. Yeah. All right.
That was the icky one.
Yeah. We're sorry.
So sorry. Thanks for sticking it out.
I'm gonna have to edit that out because I'm not sorry. I'll be honest.
So sorry. She's not, but I am.
All right. Do you think we can do it in one take?
Maybe. We'll
okay.
See. Have a creepy ass day. See you next Tuesday.
So for all of you that are listening, if you have any true crime or paranormal stories that you want us to share, maybe with the whole Pacific Northwest.
Yes, we would love to read them on the pod.
Yes, we will read them out loud.
Not just in our heads.
Yes. They don't have to be from the Pacific Northwest if you would like to share. Email us at pnwhauntsandhomicides@gmail.com. It's all spelled out, no special characters. Super duper easy peasy.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing as the email at pnwhauntsandhomicides, all spelled out, no special characters. Please also rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to, and check out our stories on social media because our meme game is hot.
Agreed.
And if you agree, like Caitlin, you can also find us on Patreon and support the show.
Bitchin'.
Can I just tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I sang 2 Taylor Swift songs in this episode. And then you were like, keep your eyes open. And I'm like, keep your eyes open. Why is she in my head so much?
Taylor, why are you the song of our people?
You are the song of our people.
My people have a lot of songs, but it's most of them are Taylor Swift songs.
I don't know why.